drizzling at Snetterton and the track is wet, with Rouse and Edwards, Jones and Newman up front on the grid for the start. And it's a clean start with Rouse straight into the lead ahead of Karl Jones and Rob Gravitt, but there's a problem behind Mike Smith on the grass. And at the end of the first lap, Andy Rouse there leading, Jones second, Edwards third, Rob Gravitt is fourth, and Jerry Marnie is up from ninth on the grid, with Rob Gravitt going for third place, Karl Jones ahead. Riches, third gear, 115 miles an hour. Up to Sear, second gear, down to 80 miles an hour. Gaining on Karl Jones, into the Rivet straight, into third gear, fourth gear, fifth gear. And Gravitt is attacking at 145 miles an hour, but Jones has got the inside line.
Results that showed once again the unchallenged position of Ford Sierra Cosworths in Class A. Ford's, in fact, taking the first 8 places.
Everybody's posher than you.
Hello fellas, welcome back down Paul's. We've got a special video today. Paul has dragged out one of his cars. I still can't believe you haven't started this, mate.
I know, I just don't even go there. It will get started.
This car was driven by Karl Jones. Today Karl's came down Paul's, so he's never seen the car since, when was it, Paul?
Well, we were arguing this morning, weren't we, whether it was 90 or 91 when he last drove it. He drove it out in Italy. I think it's 1990. We'll just put it the fact that he's old and senile. And this is 91. But anyway, since roughly that era, that was the last time he seen the car and the last time he drove it as well.
Right, and this car wasn't like mega competitive, was it, back in the day? It was kind of a low budget car.
Very low budget car.
Rally car suspension, second-hand tyres.
Exactly. And I think the thing that made this car sort of as famous as it was that fact that Karl had a very low budget car and did really, really well with it. You know, he got a few podiums, was always there or thereabouts. So, yeah, it's an important car. You know, we class race cars as important cars, and what we mean by that is because they were well-known cars, you know, so we class them as important. And this, you know, in the touring car world is an important car. Yeah.
Should we get Karl out and pull the cover off and let him see?
Get it and see it for the first time in 30 odd years.
Oh, yeah. How you feeling, Karl?
Fantastic. Actually, I don't know what I'm feeling, to be honest.
Here it is. She's a bit scruffy.
Well, she
Grab
looks
that side for us, Adam.
She looks better than I do after 32 years, anyway.
I was quite surprised, really, Karl, to be fair. It's straight, it's...
Does it look how you remembered it?
It does. Obviously, the colour scheme's different, but yeah, it's still got the old blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, bloody hell.
I think she looks well, really.
Definitely does.
Does it look familiar, or does it kind of look a bit different? And
no, it looks familiar because of the blue and the well, the bonnet's very similar, isn't it?
Yeah, because the bonnet's original.
Yeah.
Because apparently he told me that he took the bonnet off because he wanted to keep that.
Yeah.
Hung up in his garage.
So you can see it's slightly different.
Slightly different colour. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
We were just saying we couldn't decide whether it was 90 or 91 you last drove it. But if we say 91, that's still 31 years ago, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
You did mention earlier the last words you said to the car, didn't you?
Yeah. I'm not going to repeat that.
I did say, yeah, we were at Magello and I hadn't raced there, well, I'd never been there before. And we did the Friday test and it broke down in the 2 sessions. It broke down and they, usually here, they tow you back and you can get back out, but you have to wait till the end of the session. So I didn't
finish.
Didn't hardly get to drive it. And then the other session, we had another issue. So in the qualifying and race, I could memorise most of the track, but you come over 2 blind crests and one was 3rd gear and the other one was 4th. But that was the only bit that was a bit
iffy,
vague, you know, remembering that. But other than that, it was good. But yeah, the Magello and this car around there was phenomenal.
Was it?
Yeah, probably the perfect car for the perfect track.
Because it was still on the original rally car suspension as well then, wasn't it? It wasn't changed.
No.
So the car would have been exactly as you last drove it, really, then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, when you drove it out there.
Yeah. but the track, it's a lot of high speed, medium high speed corners, a few slow corners, but yeah, something like this round there was pretty special.
Well, you liked your high speed corners, didn't you?
And I always remember the start, because in the UK if they had rolling start, it would start around Sterling's, like a Brands, you know, people would be on it, but there everybody was on top of each other first gear, and there's a long straight to the start finish line, and then they went, and I remember down into the first corner, it's like a 90 right, really tight, and because we didn't qualify that well because of lack of time in the car, there was 4 cars in front, and I just did a lunge down the inside, but the guy on the far left started coming across like broadside in front of me, so I had to down the box proper sideways, hit him square on, you know, side to side, booted up there, tapped another couple, so I had a few Italians looking for me after the race. But yeah, it was awesome driving it around there.
It was better than racing it in England.
No, I wouldn't say that. It's just purely because of the car and the track, you know. And what was I going to say? Yeah, these 2 corners, when I came over, I'd carried more speed through the previous corner, so I was in a higher gear, and I couldn't change down the box quick enough, so I ended up in the gravel trap. So yeah, so that was the last time I saw it, Mugello, and said to myself, hope I never have to see you again, you horrible bitch. But that's only because I had a lot of frustrating times because of the car wasn't that competitive. We had some good results at Thruxton and places like that, but certain places like Silverstone, you know, you'd be 10th or 12th, so it was so frustrating at the time.
I said in the video we did when I first picked it up, you tend to knock yourself really, but when you think a 10th or a 12th in a car of this spec, if you look at all the other cars that were similar spec to this, the Terry Drury cars, they were last, second to last. So that even with the poor spec of the car, you were well up the pack. You were further up the pack than what you should have been.
Yeah, but Tim used to be up there as well.
Yeah, Tim did all right. Yeah, he was a good driver.
Terry Drury car. But yeah, I know. But you know your own ability, so it's frustrating, isn't it? You know, but always went well at Thruxton, and Brands Grand Prix not too bad, but Silverstone, yeah, you'd be 10th or 12th and.
Well, I think every photograph we've ever seen of this car where you were driving it, it's like that on 2 wheels or no wheels on the floor, isn't it? You know, it's
used to the rally suspension.
Yeah, but it's even got the original seating, look, Karl. It's not exactly brilliant condition, but it's still got it in.
So I said the car looks better than I do after 32 years, but the seat looks a bit more like me, I think.
I'm going to get it recovered though and keep it because it is the original seat.
Well, got to have a sit in it, haven't
Yeah,
we?
yeah, you have. Yeah, get sat in it.
Oh, you struggled to get in this seat then, Paul?
I would, yeah, unfortunately, Karl. Yeah.
That's weird, because I don't remember it being that tight.
Don't you?
Well, I put a few pounds on since then.
Not much, though.
But yeah, really nice.
I mean, you'll know, I think...
And I'd be a lot closer. I used to sit pretty close.
Well, that was first thing you showed me when we do my car. I want it to sit a lot closer than what I thought you should do. But I think all them gauges are original, aren't they? I think they've maybe changed, have they, Karl?
Yeah, they went there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all coming back now. I remember the gear shift, the gear knob on there.
RS200.
You said that, didn't you? Yeah.
So what is an RS200?
RS200, yeah.
Standard steering wheel, is it? So remember...
I hadn't even noticed. Not many touring cars have got an ignition key.
So seeing that clutch rest there, Richard made that clutch rest, remember? But that clutch rest, you could only keep your foot on it for a short amount of time because it would burn your feet.
Got that hot.
Got that hot, really?
Yeah. And that's another thing, remember, from Mugello, the master cylinder was right near the turbo, so it was boiling the fluid. So we changed that at Mugello. But the turbo's in front and the exhaust came out under here, didn't it?
Under here, right under
so
here.
you can imagine the heat.
That was what we always said was a bonus with the left-hand drive cars, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because you were other side, you were under the exhaust. Because there's no floor plate on it either, is there? To lift your feet up away from the floor.
I can remember once at Brands, I could feel it burning inside your nose, like when you're in the sauna. And I've seen you know, smouldering off the
coming off.
off the tunnel,
tunnel.
off the tunnel here before. That's so hot. Yeah, three laps would be pouring with sweat.
It'd be wet.
You look forward to getting back out in it again, Karl?
I certainly am. Yeah, it's actually weird looking at it from outside, but inside it's all flooding back because you can see all the details stuff that you remember.
I think because, let me go around the other side. Because do you remember, was that ECU there originally?
I don't know, it wasn't there.
Yeah.
No,
I think they put it there.
Maybe
so
it was up. It was hidden there, definitely not.
I think they put it there to get it. Well, what he's done, that the guy Arbor.
This wasn't. Yeah.
No, he's put that in. Now I don't understand what this is really. He says what it does, it turns that off and it shuts the boost off for starting.
We didn't have that.
No, he put that on.
We didn't have adjustable boost.
No, it's not adjustable. What that does, it turns the feed off to the actuator, so there's no boost at all. And he said he put that on, designed this for starting it. Well, I don't understand why he did that, but you know, he had his reasons.
And what did you say about the roll cage before?
The bar.
Yeah, because it should be.
Way.
So,
and ideally, it should come from behind the driver's head down, so that you've got more protection.
So it's a left-hand drive
cage. Yeah.
And I can't remember if safety devices built it for Richard. I can't really remember. Something's telling me it did.
It's a nice cage though. It's been lovely welded in for a period cage. Because most of them, that's how you notice now. You know, you look at a period car and you look at the welding and you think, that welding's terrible. But that's how they did them back in the day. There was no TIGs or anything like that then. But I want to leave it in. I want to clean it inside, but leave it. You know, keep it original. Look at him. Look, he's wanting to be off.
See, your Louis car wasn't as good as that, was it?
Yeah, but my Louis car was faster.
It certainly was. Wish I'd got to drive that back in the day.
That's what you said, innit, when you got out of it for the first time. I wish I had that car back in the day. It makes me laugh having glove box and that in. An original sticker there.
Yeah, I always sit like probably there.
Yeah.
So when the back steps out, you got more control.
Yeah, I never understood that when you told me that right from the beginning. That you have better control the closer you sat.
For me, well, my own, a lot of people do sit further back, but I always sit. I like being on top of it. But oh my God, yeah.
Just great to have it back in the UK, isn't it?
Bloody right. Really thankful you got it back, Paul.
I'm looking forward to getting out in it. Is that there before?
Jesus.
Do you remember that?
I'm having a proper flashback now. Because I wonder. Be interesting to find out that.
Well.
Because I drove with Dennis Leach at Alton Park in his Rover SD1. And he had a black car and it was hot. And Dennis had white. Actually, I think he had it outside. So when we were in Magello, it was so hot. I can't remember, was it 40 degrees or something? It was a mega hot weekend. And one of Richard's friends from Boreham came out. And I think I said, let's get some white tape. And I'm sure we did this then at Magello. So it'd be interesting to find out. I'm sure this is from Magello.
Really?
Yeah.
And we'll have to have a look at some in-car. Is there any in-car? I don't think there is there? No. That's good for a period, you know, you can find a lot of originality on cars with in-car. Like my DJR car, there's a lot of Rob Gravett in it and you can see all original gauges and things. But look at this.
Yeah, none of that was there.
No, I didn't. I said to Adam when we did the first video, that wasn't original.
Richard wouldn't have done that, definitely not.
Terrible, doesn't it? But it's a fine line. I'm trying to keep it original, but competitive. Look at him, he's at it. He's having flashbacks.
Come on, let's take it up the road. Yeah, weird, the seat. That's mega seat. When you think I jump in lots of cars and stuff, but this is like, fits me perfect. I love it.
I was chuffed when it was the original seat still in it. Just nice to keep it.
So the weight's only gone here, see?
Yeah.
The sides, I'm all right.
Yeah, she's good. Look at that, it's just things like that are nice,
Yeah.
Original stickers.
I don't think that was on there, though.
No, I think Gianluigi put that on as a reminder to everybody over there it was yours. Because he put it on the wings as well.
Yeah, and I had a big moment on the first flying lap, the left-hander before you come down the straight. Because you come in from high speed, braking, changing down, and it was all Larry on the back. So we changed the setting. So I was proper committed first lap into the last corner, and it you know, expected to still have a bit of that or neutral, but it understeered and it went, oh, I just managed to keep it out the gravel by a couple of inches. But yeah.
Good car though.
Bloody right.
Like we always said, for the money that was spent on it to build it.
Yeah. Well, Richard did an amazing job really when you consider it didn't have
the budget to build it.
I think he built it and ran it on 55 grand.
Yeah.
And the second year we had 60 grand.
Which is nothing, is it?
From good old Ron from Duckham's.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you think, run it on.
There's not many people could build a car and run it on that budget. Not as, and it was fairly reliable, wasn't it? He didn't have many DNFs. It was only like a broken stub axle, which I've got. I've got the stub axle, and you can see where it's been welded, where they've repaired it. But no, it was a credit to Richard, really.
Yeah, definitely. You know, he did a lot. And he'd always push, you know. If we got up near the front somewhere, he'd be still always pushing to try and get more.
Yeah.
Never give up.
That's good. Because I remember...
When we were saying, you know, the more you know, a lot of it I don't recall, but now talking about it, we're saying about the rally suspension. All the negatives on the car was the rally suspension, and that's purely down to budget, you know. Peter Ashcroft gave us the shell. A lot of parts, and I think he paid for the initial build on the engine.
Yeah.
But we'd run on rally suspension, Avon tyres when we started.
Which were rubbish.
They're good for 3 laps. What else? The brakes.
Yeah, well, we had that conversation, didn't we, at weekend, that it had rear brakes on the front as well. It didn't have front brakes on.
And that's probably because of the rally suspension, I suppose, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And because of the rally suspension, you couldn't get the rake on the car, couldn't get it low enough. And the way the engine worked, you know, the second year we'd probably 50 horsepower down, I reckon, but also the way the management worked.
Yeah.
And I never knew this until I had a rider on Brands with Guy Edwards, probably in 1990 that was, I guess. And at Druids, like from the bridge to the opposite side at Druids, you know, mine, you'd brake and you'd be chug, 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 and then come in with a massive bang. But his was more just progressive, like...
Yeah, a lot smoother.
I'd be like...
Yeah, fighting it.
No traction.
Because I remember I spotted some when we first got to know each other, because the first year you ran this car in '88, you didn't even have air jacks on, did it?
No, I don't think we did.
It was only '89 when they put the air jacks in. So you were still progressing the car, really, weren't you?
Yeah, and I think I don't remember, you know, in my racing, I don't remember lap records and stuff like that, but you remember certain things. I remember at Donington, down the Craner curves, flat in top, 2 laps, but we changed the setting, I couldn't do it then. But your brain's, even when you're doing it flat, your brain's telling you, well, you just make yourself do it. But yeah, remember stuff like that. Remember Birmingham Super Prix with Steve. We had it on the axles, on the air jacks in the pit lane there. It was really tight outside Bristol Street Motors, and yeah, the pedal went to the floor. I nearly had the car parked in the pit lane, and so I had to go back out on the track with the bloody fluid boiling and very little brakes. So I told Steve, I said, have you got you must have different compound pads to me, and he said, well, bring them over. And went over to the old Eggerberger truck and saw Steve, and he said, I thought they were your front pads. I said, they are. So my front pads were like that, his were like...
Yeah, massive.
Yeah. So obviously I had the engine braking to help me. But and a really special moment was at Thruxton, and we hadn't been there from autumn to spring, no testing. And my first time lap of the day, I put it on the front row with Rouse.
Yeah, he did.
And got the car, my hands were shaking like that, but yeah, that was pretty special.
Because you beat him into a car.
But
as well.
that's just confidence in the car and knowing the track, which I was taught by Ian Taylor, that, you know, so I knew my way around there pretty well. And when I drove for Jerry Marshall, I was racing prod saloons in a Fiat Abarth 130 DC, and he said, "Where's your favourite track, boy?" I went, "Brands Grand Prix track in Alton Park." He said, "They're for fucking pussies, boy. Thruxton's a man's track." I went, "What the hell's he on about?" And I got a friend who, Johnny Robinson, raced F3 and tested for Williams. And he always says, after a couple of beers, we always have this argument. Not so many now, but we used to always have this discussion. And he'd go, "F3, that's not even a racetrack. F3 around Thruxton, it's not even a racetrack. If you go off, you're not going to hit anything." I said, "Well, you only raced F3 round there from the complex to the chicane. It's flat." And people, when they ask you about, you know, is church flat in one of these cars, I said, "No, you brake and change down. You know, you got to think of the weight, the size of the car, and so on, and the speed you're approaching." But yeah, Thruxton is. When I drove this around Thruxton, I understood what Jerry was on about. Noble's my favourite track, and through there, on the bump, the car would move like 12 foot across the road at 140 or something.
Jeez.
It doesn't get any better than that.
Well, I don't know. I would think 6 foot across is better than 12 foot.
But even now, racing Benz D-type around Thruxton,
You love it.
that's special as well. Because I remember when I drove your Louis car at Silverstone.
Yeah.
I think it was my 60th, and I didn't never celebrate stuff like that, but that was a special year at the Classic because I drove your car, the D-Type, and Chris Saunders' Lotus Cortina, and I thought, in my head, I thought, what would be better, the RS500 or the D-Type? But the Louis car played up that weekend, didn't
Yeah,
it? So I didn't have a good
turbo.
chance to see which, but I think the RS500 is,
Really?
yeah, I think so. Be nice to drive both on the same day,
Yeah,
but I think they're both phenomenal cars, iconic cars in totally different ways, and they'll both want to bite you in the arse.
Yeah,
You know, you've
yeah.
got to grab it by the scruff of the neck, and you're in control. Don't let the car be in control. But yeah, both phenomenal, and I just look back. I was very privileged to drive such a car. You know, it was frustrating at the time because we weren't competitive consistently. But looking back, I just think it's probably the best era of touring cars over 50 years, isn't it? It's just like they were.
I think everybody says that, don't
You
they?
know, they were quicker than the Formula 3000 on the straight, and yeah, I look back at. You know, when you're a kid and you watch Formula 1, there was nearly, you know, I think Scheckter raced one in South Africa, didn't he? And he said they had a slightly bigger turbo than us, but he said it was quicker than the last F1 he drove down the straight. You know, they were rapid, weren't they?
Good cars. Let's have a look under the bonnet, see if that's changed much. Mind you won't remember.
Yeah, so I used to work quite a bit on the car with Richard. So most of my drives I got by subsidising my drives by working on the car.
Working on it yourself.
I didn't really enjoy that. I remember that.
What's this, Karl? Power steering.
Not too many had power steering, I don't think, did they?
It's the only
But-
one. I think
but-
I've seen 2 with power steering.
But I think you're only losing what horsepower? Very little.
Yeah, it's neither
It's
here
what,
nor there. I think once
3
you get
or
over
5 or something like that,
if
isn't it?
that.
So-
I think once you get over sort of 450 horsepower, it's sort of
Doesn't make a difference.
no. One thing we noticed was it running the cable clutch,
Yeah.
and they cleverly made it so you can adjust it on the you know, up high up, so you don't have to climb underneath to do it. But we're still very primitive for an RS500, because I think Jeff Page built the engine for it, didn't he?
Yeah,
He was
for
working
Terry
for
Hoyle,
Terry
yeah.
Hoyle, yeah.
Well, I was saying about the budget we had, they were trying something new at Silverstone and it detonated the engine that weekend. I think that was 18 grand or something. And you think our budget for the year was 60.
That was
a
the other
big
thing.
chunk.
You couldn't really push this to its limit, could you? Because you were always wary of blowing it up, as were most teams.
Well, yeah, he just didn't run the boost. Just keep it in reserve a bit, didn't he?
Turn it down a bit.
But I pushed it to the limit with what I had.
No, she's all there. And I remember all this in the back.
Yeah, they definitely can remember all this.
Yeah. So Richard must have made all this, did he? Fabricated all this.
Yeah. I remember we had a leak at Silverstone Grand Prix and I had to rush round. I think it was Vic Coleman, I think, running a Formula 3 team, and he gave us some stuff to fix it last minute, just before going. Just managed to get up for the race. Then it was a wet race, I remember.
Which you liked?
Yeah, I don't know. Didn't do. I can't remember. I don't think we did that well in that one for some reason.
Tell you what is remarkable though. I said on the
I was probably on Avon's then.
Were you?
Avon's weren't very good.
Is that your excuse?
That time, I don't know, was it that time? I think it was the time I put it on the front row with Rouse. It rained for the race.
Yeah, it did.
And I said, I'll start from the pit lane. I didn't want to start from there, and they wouldn't let me start from the pit lane. I said, because I'm going to go off, I'll be off before I get to Goodwood or somewhere. That's how bad, because the second session was wet, and it was just, couldn't keep it on the track.
No grip.
But and it was one of these days, it rained, dried, and I was bricking it all day, and it dried for the race, and just started to drizzle at the end.
Did it? Because you beat Rouse into first corner in that race.
Did I?
Yeah.
So, can Andy Rouse get into the first corner before Karl Jones? And it looks as though the answer is no. Karl Jones leads, Mike Newman second.
Oh, I did. I saw that recently. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you beat him into corner.
And another time, don't know, was it then? No. Might be in the same race, I can't bloody remember. But at Goodwood, I used a different line from Noble to Goodwood, and he went in deep, and I should have lunged him up the inside, and I didn't, to try and block him, but he just tried past when he bloody hell. No. Well, you haven't taken the piss about something else.
What?
Electric windows.
Oh, yeah, I mentioned it, because they're not in now, are they? Yeah. Oh, no, they must be. Are they still in? No, it's got, oh no, because it's got no windows in it, because they've changed them all, haven't they? Yeah, so it's got no glass in at all, which I have to put back in.
What was the reason with the electric windows then?
He was lazy.
No, I don't know.
I would guess.
We used to always run them
half down, yeah. I would imagine they probably used a car loom when it was built. You know, an original car loom, so the electric windows were in, so you just carried on with them.
And we did change the mirrors, didn't we? Because we had standing mirrors.
Well, I remember telling Karl it had them mirrors on, and he said, no, we didn't. We only ever ran the standard road car mirrors. And I sent him a photograph of the car with these mirrors on. And it did, but quite late in '89, wasn't it, when they were changed? But she still looks good, really, doesn't
she? She does, definitely. Well, I don't think I dinged it at all. I think
Guy Edwards ran up back here.
Oh yeah, yes, true. Guy Edwards ran up the back, and Bristow, I think, at Silverstone, might have been that wet one at the Grand Prix. Under the bridge, left, right, it tore the plastic skirt off, I think.
Yeah, it did, because I've got a
and over the wheel arch.
I've got a photograph of that with arch flapping.
But yeah, when Guy Edwards hit me up the back at Thruxton, I was coming into the pits before the chicane signalled right, cruising in, and he misjudged the braking and hit me at high speed. He came sideways past the side of the driver window. Like, yeah, massive impact.
But you were quite lucky, because this is still all the original rear quarter and that on it.
Yeah.
But I've seen pictures of the Guy Edwards car, because he couldn't...
Actually, no, a passenger window he came past, didn't he? Like, but because he caught that rear quarter.
That side.
And because it had the rally suspension on, it didn't do much. It bent the rear beam a little, but they couldn't even race because it pushed the front legs over.
Yeah, it did quite a lot of damage to his car, didn't it?
Well, it hit it at pretty high speed.
Did it?
Probably over 100 mile an hour, I'd guess.
Because I've got the picture somewhere, and I'll dig it out for Adam, because there's a picture of the guy who was car at the front, and you're stood behind it, holding your helmet, looking not too amused.
Oh, I was fine about it, because there was a couple of drivers out there that liked a good old shunt and weren't that good, but you know, Guy was pretty fair, genuine guy, a nice bloke, so it didn't really bother me, to be honest.
It happens, doesn't it?
Yeah. Can't wait to jump in it now and give it the beans.
Yeah, I can't believe how original it is.
You're going to run it with centre locks, aren't you, Paul, instead of the 4 studs original rally suspension?
Yeah, just because really, like Karl has said, with the rally suspension on, you can't really get it sat low enough where you really want a touring car to sit. So we're going to run it with the proper touring car suspension on it, just to make it more competitive and take away any excuses he's got for why he ain't winning. That's the main reason.
I haven't, because I'm fucking good.
But no, it makes sense to leave it as it is.
The older I get, the faster I was.
Yeah.
These, I remember all these.
Yeah, all original still again. Everything is really. If you put the stickers back on it and painted the white, because obviously it was all the body kit and the bumpers were white originally, weren't they? But it wouldn't take a lot to. And you said the yellow was painted, didn't you? And you can see it.
Yeah.
Now look. Because now obviously nowadays you can just do it with vinyl, can't you? I just need to get my finger out now and get it race ready, don't I?
That's it, fellas. Thanks for watching, and thanks to Karl for coming down, and I hope you enjoyed seeing your car again.
Absolutely.
It's been a while.
Yeah, pretty emotional, strange to describe the feeling, but yeah, absolutely fantastic to see it back. I can't wait to be behind the wheel and
Back out in it.
getting it nice and sideways.
Thanks for inviting us down, Paul, as well.
You're welcome.
If you want to see a bit more in depth of a story on this car, I'll leave a video below where Paul invited us down before. We talk a bit more in depth about the history of the car. But yet again, thanks for watching. I'll leave some of Paul's contact information below. Yet again, thanks, fellas. Thanks for inviting us down and letting us film it.
You're welcome.
Cheers.
See you on the next one, fellas.